Hello, I'm Ashley Thomas and welcome to my channel. If you're new here and you want to follow just a geek who likes to talk about film, TV and everything geeky, then why not hit that subscribe button. Okay, Captain Marvel, seen the movie for the first time last night. I'm a little bit late getting around to watching it. This one is directed by an Boden and a Ryan Fleck. We've got Brie Larson portraying the character of Captain Marvel, or Carol Danvers. We've got also Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, and so this is Captain Marvel's origin story, and she's sort of caught in the middle of this conflict between these two different alien races, and it's as a result of this conflict between the two alien races, the Kree, which she is part of, and the Skrulls. It's as a result of this conflict that her past slowly starts coming back to her and she finds out who she really is. Now, I really wanted Captain Marvel to be the Wonder Woman of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it failed miserably. Now, that's not me saying that this is a terrible movie, because it's not. But unfortunately, this is not a particularly great movie as well. So I'm just going to dive straight into go into the negatives first. And for me, one of the biggest negatives was its main character, played by Brie Larson. I just found Brie Larson's performance in this movie just very, very wooden. And as a result, I really couldn't connect to her on an emotional level. I just really didn't particularly like this character, and for me, I just felt like a lot of that was down to the fact that the way in which this character was played, the way in which this character was portrayed by Brie Larson. I just really couldn't connect to the character on any level, and I sort of get what they were trying to do. It reminded me a little bit of Terminator 2, where you've got sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger's character at the beginning of the movie, you know, and sort of like how he grows throughout the film and how this machine sort of learns, and so he picks up these sort of human characteristics, you know, with the smiling and that. And I felt like they were trying to do that with Captain Marvel, but it sort of doesn't really go anywhere. There is no real character arc with this character. She sort of starts off as this cold, you know, this sort of stone cold, emotionless, you know, woman. And we don't really, we get a few smiles, we get a few giggles from her throughout the film. You sort of get a little bit more emotion from her as she starts to find out who she is, where she comes from. But at the end of the film, we sort of got the same sort of character, and it just, as a result, for me, the character wasn't interesting. I just, you know, when it came to her performance, she was very wooden. And I just could not connect to her on an emotional level, and I just found her to be the least interesting aspect of a film which is supposed to be all about her. It's her origin movie. But the performances from the rest of the cast were actually quite good. I really liked them. Jude Law, for example, as a Yon Rogg, I think that's how you pronounce his name, as sort of Via's or Carol Danvers or Captain Marvel's, or, you know, whatever you want to refer to her as. Her mentor in a way, and I thought his performance was really sort of, there was, you know, it looked as if he cared, and I dug what he was doing. Same goes for, you know, Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, he's just cool as fucking whatever he's in, and I liked him in this. And you got Ben Mendelsohn. Now, for me, he was sort of the standout when it comes to the performances. I really dug his performance as this, you know, the villain, the Skrull, Talos, his name is. And he's wearing a lot of makeup, okay? And he gave his performance outshined Brie Larson's. And this guy is wearing, you know, for majority of the film, he's wearing makeup. But you see so much through that makeup, through his, you know, in regards to his performance. Like, he conveys so much emotion and heart, you know, especially in the moments in which it's required. Through this, you know, through that makeup that he's wearing, and I just really dug his performance. And then compared to Brie Larson, who might be in the same scene, it just, like, he really outshined it. But for every moment in this film that Brie Larson shares a scene with someone, so say it'd be Jude Law, Samuel L. Jackson, they all outshine her when it comes to their performances. I cared more about the character Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn, than, you know, Larson's Captain Marvel. So yeah, you know, this is Captain Marvel's origin movie, but I actually found the villain, you know, the Skrull played by Ben Mendelsohn, just more interesting. I was more entertained when Samuel L. Jackson was in the movie, or, you know, when Jude Law was on the screen. His presence just really just overshadowed hers. For a film that's supposed to be all about Captain Marvel, like I said, for me, she was just sort of the least interesting aspect of the movie. So let's talk about the action in this movie. The action in this movie was just so forgettable. Like, it was okay. I mean, you know, the action was alright. There were some really cool moments, some really cool action scenes. But for me, the action in this movie wasn't engaging or thrilling enough. And really, it sort of sums up this entire movie. For me, the overall experience of this film was just a very bland and boring experience. And that sort of really sums up some of the action scenes in this film as well. And I think a lot of that, for me anyway, personally, is down to the way these action scenes were shot. I'm really not a fan on how they shot these action scenes. Like, there were a lot of close-ups, the lighting, sometimes you did struggle to see, you know, what was going on within these fight scenes because of the lighting. And so, yeah, it was just a very bland, dull experience. It's like, and you know, these action scenes are supposed to really immerse you into them and sort of be thrilling and exciting and engaging, but they failed on that. Like, even when we get to the third act, and so we get, you know, that big action finale, and it just really fell flat. Like, when Captain Marvel finally gets her moment, like, it's in the trailers, and I really wanted it to be the scene that was in Wonder Woman, so the No Man's Land scene. I really wanted one of those moments within this movie, and I thought that was going to be the moment in the third act. And it's kind of fun, it's kind of cool to see on the screen and how it plays out. But again, it just fell so flat, and I just didn't care. And I feel like a lot of that is as a result of how I felt about Captain Marvel, how I felt about this character. I just didn't care for her. So everything she's really doing, and when she gets this really big moment, and she's like, all of a sudden, she is Captain Marvel, you know, and she discovers herself and all of that, I really wanted it to be this sort of, you know, powerful, emotional scene, like that No Man's Land scene from Wonder Woman. But it just failed miserably. And look, I don't want to keep comparing it to Wonder Woman, but like, I just really wanted this film to be the Wonder Woman of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I was so disappointed. And also, I feel like this movie suffers as a result of the fact that it really tried to this is sort of like a setup for Endgame, and it's quite obvious, and there are a lot of sort of tie-ins and connections to previous movies. Like, it really does connect to almost every other single standalone Marvel movie in some sort of way. There's a reference here, or there's a nod there, and it all sorts of connects, and in a way I kind of like it, but it really sort of overshadowed this movie and what I thought it was going to be, which was her origin story. And I think as a result of all those sort of, you know, the setup and the connections to the other Marvel movies, and the fact that this film really did just feel like the join the dots, really. So, you know, it really sort of got you ready for Endgame, and, you know, prepared you for Endgame, and the fact that, yeah, okay, we know this character is going to be in Endgame, and as a result of all of that, it really just didn't feel like her own movie. And it really should have, because it's an origin story. It was almost as if it was like, okay, they need this character in Endgame, so they have to introduce her. And that's how it felt. It was like, only because she was in Endgame, they felt like they had a need to introduce her, and this is how this film felt, purely because of all of these connections to the other movies, and the fact that I really think it sort of overshadowed her own story and her origin story. Because I feel like her origin story is there, don't get me wrong, but it just gets lost, and it gets really sort of murky. And again, that sort of, for me, just sort of plays in how you care for this character emotionally as well. I'm going to talk a bit more about positives now, because like I said, it's not a terrible film, but it's just not a great movie either. And just it's a very, very average movie for me anyway. But Goose the Cat. I think Goose the Cat was great in a few of the scenes that he was in. And the CGI. Now, the CGI is really, really good in this film. When it comes to the CGI in Marvel movies, I've never been like... It's been okay, but I feel like it's never been the... it looks like CGI. The CGI in the Marvel movies, for me, is not the greatest. But the CGI in this, especially when it comes to the de-aging of sort of like Samuel L. Jackson and Agent Coulson, I think is amazing. You did, like, apart from a few angles, I suppose, when you're watching Samuel L. Jackson and the fact that they've sort of de-aged him, he looks a lot younger, but it looks incredible. Like the CG, when it comes to that aspect of the CGI, it's amazing. I also really dug the score by Pina Toprak. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. But the score in this movie, I really, really liked. It had the sort of those sort of 80s synths to it, which it reminded me a lot of Thor Ragnarok, actually, a little bit. It's not quite heavy 80s influenced as the soundtrack was in Thor Ragnarok, but it does have that retro sound about it. I really liked it, and I think they did a really good job at capturing that 90s, feeling and look and atmosphere and vibe. Like, you've got a lot of sort of nods and references, like they've got, Smashing Pumpkin posters for one of the albums that came out around in which this is based. I believe it's like 94, 95. And you've got, obviously, Blockbuster is in it, and I really, really like that. And that is it. They are my opinions of Captain Marvel. That is how I felt. Like, it was okay. It wasn't a terrible film, but it wasn't a great film. It was just a very average viewing experience. It was a letdown because, like I said, I really wanted this to be, the Wonder Woman of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it was a bit of a disappointment for me, but I kind of enjoyed. There were moments within this film. There were pockets of moments that I enjoyed purely down to the performances from most of the cast. Where Samuel L. Jackson was great in it. There are some sort of cool action scenes, sort of the aesthetics and designs of the Kree and all of that sort of stuff I really liked. But overall, it was sort of just dull. Now, this might just be me, and this is just my opinion, but for me, I feel like this film lacks that sort of appeal for repetitive viewing. I really don't think people are going to go back and watch this. It hasn't got that appeal. And I got no interest in going back to the cinema to watch Captain Marvel again. But like I said, that is just me. So it'll be interesting to see when it comes to the box office. Like, it's done quite well so far, but it's just interesting to see how much this will actually make, and potentially could it make more than Wonder Woman? I don't know. But for me, like I said, when it comes to second viewings, just because of how dull and bland I felt this viewing experience was, especially when it comes to action, like the action in this film should have blown you away. Some of the action scenes were fun. Overall, just forgettable. So yeah, they are my thoughts on Captain Marvel, and I will be giving Captain Marvel a C. What did you guys think of Captain Marvel? Please let me know below and let's get a discussion going. Did you agree with me? Did you disagree with me? I feel like there's a lot of people going to disagree with me, but there we go. And so yeah, just please let me know your thoughts. I would really like to know. And again, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And remember, if you want to see future movie reviews from me, you want to follow just a geek who likes to talk about film and TV and everything geeky, then why not hit subscribe?